Thanks so much to Coach Tatiana Dowling, the Seaman volleyball coach, for joining our 13 Sports as Coach show. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, I'll start with this. Coming off of the state championship run that you guys had, and obviously very exciting for you at the 5A level, and had a really dominant team all around. You of course you have a lot of Division I athletes on your team who are coming back next year, which is a big help for you. And just looking back at that state run that you guys had, how beneficial, how just rewarding, so many words you could think of. How awesome was that to be able to win that state championship?
Yeah, I think it was really a rewarding experience, especially for this program because a lot of these girls have grown up coming to all of our like little kids camps when they were younger, playing together in grade school and middle school, and then coming to our high school and getting to play at that highest level in the state. I think that was really cool for them to see it come full circle. And then just to be able to do that for everybody else who's going to be coming up through it, I think it was a huge program builder for us to finally get one of those under our belt.
And talk about maybe some of the players that you have, right? Megan Mills obviously going to Tulsa. You got Reagan who's going to Villanova. You have a lot of different pieces that, either are going to Division I or playing other sports like Taylor Stallbomber, who's played, I think, 3 or 4 sports her whole career. And, you had McKinley Wilhelm. I mean, there's so many names that you can, go down the list of. And what was it about this team specifically that something just clicked, something just worked? What was it specifically?
I think it was truly how unselfish of a group they are. None of them cared who got the credit. They wanted what was best for the team. They were willing to step into any role that we put them in. We would switch people in different positions or tell them different things, and they were always open to what we had to say as coaches and the feedback that we were giving, and they applied it. So sometimes I feel like you get some of those kids that they want to apply it and they want to be coachable, but they can't quite get their bodies to do it. But I felt like these girls, they really bought into what we were doing and they tried to do what we said out on the court. And then they just went out and played unselfish and played for each other, which was so awesome to see. I think that our seniors did a great job leading our underclassmen. I think we had a lot of really talented juniors also step up and fill those roles. And then we brought along a freshman and a few other sophomores that really stepped into those smaller roles that we gave them, but they excelled at them and they did their job. And everybody just played for each other at the end, and it was awesome.
So for a coach like yourself, when you have so many different pieces that you could plug in and so many pieces that work so well together, right? Doesn't always work that way, unfortunately. But for as a coach, when you have a team like that where so many, pieces of the puzzle come together, how easy does that make your job? Or is it, where you don't really have to coach them as much? And is it kind of give you a little bit of like where you step back and you're like, okay, I was gonna let them play because they understand what that assignment is?
Yeah, I think obviously when you have a lot of talent, it does make your job a little bit easier in some ways as far as the actual training portion of skills. Um, we still teach them strategies and what we want them to do, but the thing about them is that they led so well. The seniors really were the best leaders, so that by the time that they were in that atmosphere of the state tournament, you're right. I really didn't have to say very much because they were already saying it to each other. And I think that that's part of the reason that made them so um, successful as well, is because they had teammates that held each other accountable so that their coaches were always the ones that were having to do it. And obviously, you'd rather hear it from a teammate than a coach harping on you all the time. So I think that having those leaders on the team and how everybody else responds to that constructive criticism really did help carry them really far.
So, and obviously, you're no stranger to the game of volleyball yourself. Only playing 15 minutes down the road over at Washburn just a couple of years ago, and coming from a winning program there as well. And maybe when you look back at your college days when you played at Washburn, and you were under Coach Heron, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so you were under Coach Heron, because I know this is a little bit before my time, but when you come from a program like that and Coach Heron, who I know is high intensity, who really wants the best out of his players, and maybe what did you take away from what you learned from Coach Heron as a player and a winning program like that, and then transition it to the high school level over at Seaman?
Yeah. I've been really fortunate to be under some really great coaches because I did go to Washburn and I played for Coach Heron, but I also played for Brooke Ralph and Erica Cowhig at the time, who's now Erica Book, and each of them played college volleyball with Erica playing for Coach Heron. So I feel like I've been getting it my whole life, kind of. But going to a program like that, you learn what a winning attitude is. You learn that you expect to win, and kind of that feeling of not allowing yourself to lose. And I feel like it causes you to work harder. He definitely instilled in me a lot of the skills that I have, but I feel like he also really helped me with a competitive mindset, and ensuring that I want to win every single point. And I think that that transfers over to now when I'm coaching the girls. And I think that they really adopted that mindset too. So it's nice to be brought up in those things. And obviously I can't credit Coach Heron enough. I still text him all the time. I'm like, hey, what would you do in this situation? And he replies every time. So it's really cool to be able to lean on past coaches that you've had, especially coaches who have been so successful like him, and some of my other high school coaches, because I feel like they definitely shape the coach and the athlete that you are as you go.
And how intense are you? You know, it seems like you are intense. I've seen you on the sideline, you know, of course, since the 2 years that I've been here and so watching some of your matches. And I guess the question I'll ask this is, what is your coaching philosophy, right? Every coach has their own philosophy, how they go about things, and like you mentioned, what you learn from previous coaches. And if people don't know what your coaching philosophy is like, or what you want to, out of your players, what does that look like when, if people come to your games, you take the court, what are they going to expect out of your coaching philosophy style, whichever you want to call it?
Yeah, I agree that I can be a little bit intense. I was definitely coached that way in the past by some of my coaches. But I would say that I saw a quote one time that was something along the lines of, if you care about your players, then you'll coach them hard. And I feel like I do that in a way that I care about them a lot. I care about them outside of volleyball, their success in school, their success as just regular people. So I'm always going to try and form that relationship with them, but I am going to coach them hard. I'm not going to let the little things slide, because it's the little things that make a difference in a game where you're winning by a point or two, taking Aquinas to 25-22 for both championship matches. So I feel like you will see some intensity, and I'm not afraid to get on somebody, but I'm also going to be their biggest fan when they do something well, and pick them up, whether they're down about volleyball or down about anything. So I think all of those things mixed together to form the type of coach that I am.
And to have that reaction, right, when you guys won, and see the players obviously do the big huddle in the middle of the court, and how, I don't know if you were, I'm assuming you're a little nervous or maybe more amped up or anxious. I don't know. There's so many words you could probably describe. What were the emotions like, leading up to that 25th point, and then obviously when it's all over? What was that like as a coach, where you're trying to keep your composure, but then obviously when it's all said and done, you're able to celebrate? So what was that like for as a coach when you're down to those last couple points?
Yeah, I think that there was a little bit of relief after that, like excitement, obviously, a little bit of relief, because all year there were people from the community coming up to me saying, you've never had this much firepower before on your team. Or even Coach Heron at his team camp that we went to, he said, you're the ones that everyone's going to have to beat. Like you guys are going to have a big target on your back this year. You should win it all. And so I think like all of those comments eventually, they start to put a little pressure on you. Like, yeah, we should. And obviously I want it for the girls. I want it for our program. I want it for everybody, the community. And so I think that when that moment happened, it was just like pure happiness, pure relief, pure excitement, all mixed into one. And just really cool for the girls, because I think that we've definitely had a mental hump when it comes to playing some of the private schools that we faced. Always thinking like how great they are. Some Kansas City schools, they've got a big pool of people that they can pull from. And so I think that playing those schools and being able to beat those schools was a big step for our program. And I think that the girls wanted to prove it to themselves, and they wanted to prove it to everybody that they could do it. And they did it. So it was just like a full circle moment where you're so proud of them for going after what they've been wanting this whole entire time and really making it happen on the floor.
Well, Coach, let me, I'll ask it this way as well. Going into next year, right? You bring back Megan, you bring back Reagan. I know you lose a couple players, this coming school year. Who are some players that, the community should look out for on the Vikings? Besides Reagan and Megan, right? Obviously, everybody knows those two big names, Division One athletes. Who are maybe some of the other players that you're really excited about that you can plug in for this year's lineup?
Yeah, so we have Megan. Somebody who has really been surprising me, or not surprising me, but just like exceeding expectations this summer is Ava Esser. She went down with an ACL injury at the end of her sophomore year, and last year she was still kind of struggling a little bit with that pain that she was having from her surgeries. But this year she is a complete beast. Like she is going above and beyond as a leader, as a teammate, as a player. And so she's been a huge force for us this summer, and I'm super excited about her. Obviously, we have so many talented girls. Like we have a class of 6 seniors that have all really stepped up. So I'm excited because Maggie Molden's going to transfer, I think, to the middle for us instead of the right side. And she has been working really hard at that. She has the best attitude. We've got Kinley Wilhelm returning for us in the back row as our libero for the second year as a starter for that, with just a lot of experience with her back there, kind of leading that. We have Campbell Shabbat, who is a returning setter for us, and she does a great job at speeding up our offense. So I'm really, really excited about a lot of those people. We have Allie Steiner, who's stepped up a lot for us on the right side. She went to state for track as well. So I feel like we just have a well-rounded group of girls who are experienced athletes, multi-sport athletes who work hard and are just excited to be there. So I'm really excited about them.
I'll ask you too. I know volleyball is big in terms of having height. And I know Reagan's pretty tall, Megan's pretty tall, and so is Ava. So, I mean, you got three, I would say almost 6 foot girls or taller than 6 feet. So having size like that, in the front or wherever you might put them, on the floor, how beneficial is it to have one is great, but to have three, how big is that to have so much height on the floor like that?
Yeah, we it changes the way that you can play the game. So in the past we've haven't had the most height in the world. We've had definitely shorter and scrappier teams. So as a coach, I've definitely had to revamp how I want to coach those kids and how I want to approach our game strategies. But whether or not they're tall or not, it's nice to have athletic kids behind them who are going and getting balls. We pride ourselves on being scrappy. And so just part of that now is that we've got a bigger block in front of us. So there's more touches off the block that we can go get. But we definitely set up some different schemes with a little bit of height compared to if we've got a bunch of shorties in the front row. But it definitely makes it fun. It's fun to watch them put balls away. It's fun to watch them get those big block celebration points. And it's definitely been a huge momentum boost for us. So.
And to have a big part of that championship nucleus back and to, show the freshmen that are coming in and sophomores even too. I know the sophomores are probably, now who are juniors that are coming in as well. So just to have so much of that nucleus back, that firepower that you had last year, do you have to change a little bit of what you want to do? Of course, there's always new things you want to implement. Is there a lot you're going to change, or is it just going to be kind of the same? Because a lot of that is returning from last year.
Well, yeah, so I think that there's a little bit of both. I actually got some really great advice from Steve Bushnell, who was our athletic director last year, and then obviously a multi-time state champion in baseball at the Seaman district. And he was talking to me one day and he's like, the worst thing that you can do is come back after a state championship and try to do too much, like try to change everything, try to be that much more intense, that much more like what you did worked. So at some point you still need to kind of carry some of that with you. And he was like, just go out there and still be your same self as a coach. Don't feel like you have to overcompensate now that you've won a state championship. Basically go out there and just do you, which is kind of like what we tell our girls too. We're trying to do these things as a team, but obviously I don't want to take the flair out of their own game. And I want to see them be successful in the things that they're talented at out there on the floor. I want to see them having a good time. being sassy, doing whatever they want to do. So, I think all of those things come back together, and yeah, we'll tweak a few things here and there, and we'll implement some new things, or we'll change some of our strategies based on personnel. But I still want us to be us at the end of the day.
Well, Coach, I'm trying to think of anything else that I may be missing from, the run last year. Or I guess, one thing I'll ask you, because I asked this for the Silver Lake coach, Sarah Johnson, every coach is different in terms of like summer camps too, and, what you guys like to work on. And maybe for yourself, what does summer camp look like? What do you try to implement, or what does summer camp really help you with as a coach when, you go into that new season?
Yeah. We start at the beginning of June and we go until about mid-July till like dead periods, and we skip dead periods, but we're going 4 times a week. Usually, we've got volleyball stuff going on from about 7 to 9, and then we do weights and conditioning from 9 to 10:30. So we're out of there by 11 at the latest every single day, so that they can still, be kids and have their summers, in the afternoons, go swim and do whatever you want with your friends. And I think that that's important, having that balance, of not going all summer, because I'm going to get them for almost 3 months in the fall too. So having a little bit of a break where they can just go and be kids and have fun in the summer, I think is super important. So we focus on that. But when we're in the gym, we want quality reps and we want to work hard. And we do our 1 week of team camp. We run a tournament in the summers, and then we also go to the Washburn team camps. So we know that when it's those situations, we come in and it's time to work. But outside of that, we want them to not think about volleyball. We want them to go think about anything else, have a great time, be in themselves and relax a little bit. So we do all of that. But I think that that really helps us get ready for season, because we have all of that time leading up to it with our new group. So obviously, when you lose people like Taylon and Brooklyn, and then Reagan actually transferred to Hayden, so we don't have her anymore, which is okay. But so when you lose those 3 people, you've got shoes to fill and holes that you've got to figure out and compensate for. And so I think that the summer is a great opportunity for us to see some kids who developed in the off season, and then they show up and they surprise you in some really great ways. So it's been really nice, having that as well.
Well, Coach, is there anything else that I know I just mentioned that, but anything else? I know we went over a lot of different topics that I'm missing from last year's team to, this year's squad. Anything that, I'm missing that you'd like to add?
No, I think we're good.
All right. Well, Coach, really appreciate you joining me and taking the time, and good luck here in a few short months.
Thank you.